Hey guys, welcome to part 10 of my Making a Discord Bot in Python YouTube series. In this video, we're going to be going over errors. And I know there are lots of errors when creating your bot. These errors are specifically Discord PY errors because it's got a pretty nifty way of handling them. So just to point out, I am sick. So if I cough or something like clear my throat, something like that, that's why. So hopefully it's not too annoying. So let me just sort of go over what I have here. So first things first, I have a clear command, very similar to the one I have in my clear command video. I think that's part 4 or 5, something like that. But it should be very similar, except in this case, as you can see here, the amount that we pass in does not have a default value of 5 or 10 or whatever the heck it was in that last video. And this is to demonstrate a potential error that could occur. What if I'm using the clear command, but I don't specify an amount? I could just use that default value that I did in that last video, but some commands you don't want to have default values. How do you handle those errors? Well, that's what we're going to go over in this video. So to do that, we are going to create an event at client.event. Obviously, that is the decorator for all Discord PY events. And then for the function header, we are going to say async def on underscore command underscore error. And within the parentheses here, we are going to give it two parameters here, or 2 arguments, ctx and error. Ctx is obviously representing the context of the command that raised the error, and error is just the error. All right, so we can end that with our colon. And within this error, within this event here, we can sort of just handle errors in various ways. So let's say, I guess we could just put a big, await ctx.send error, and that, just send a message anytime an error occurred. But that's not ideal. That's probably not what you want. You want to handle specific errors in specific ways. So the way you do that is you essentially use an if statement, and you say if is instance error, and then you give it an error. So let's say, like I have here, someone does not specify an amount. That is a missing required argument error or exception. And the way you use that is you say, the way you check for it is you say if is instance, and then within the parentheses here, you give it error, and you say, you give it error, and you also give it commands dot missing required argument, and that with a colon. And that if statement will essentially handle anything, that will essentially handle missing required argument error. So if a command gives that error at any point, the code within that if statement will run. So we're just going to do something simple. We're going to say, await ctx.send, please pass in all required arguments. Yep. Excuse me, I burped. Anyways, so as you can see here, we have our onCommand error event, which checks if a missing required argument error is raised. If it is, it simply says, please pass in all required arguments. So if we run this code, let's move that window over there, and here we are. If I use .clear and do not give it a value, as you can see, it said, please pass in all required arguments. Pretty straightforward. So that's one way of checking for errors. I do want to show you another way though, and this way is command specific. So let's say I didn't want this message to happen for all commands. I just wanted it to happen for my clear command. Well, I can do this. At clear being the name of the command, .error. So this decorator essentially says that the function that I create will be triggered when the clear command has an error. All right. So in the function header, I'm just going to say async def, and I'm just going to name it something intuitive, like, ClearError. Straightforward, but still intuitive. And within the parentheses here, I'm going to pass in the context represented by ctx and the error represented by error. Put the colon there. Now, This function here essentially acts as an on-command-error event, except it's an event that's only triggered when the clear command has an error. You could have 100 other commands and that event would never trigger unless it was an event, or sorry, unless the error was triggered by the clear command. All right, so quite honestly, we could just copy and paste this right in here. Maybe change this up. We'll make it say, please specify an amount of messages to delete. And we can say that because, again, this error will only, or sorry, this error handler, aka this if statement, aka this message, will only ever be sent when, when this clear command is the one causing the error, right? You'll see. We're going to run this now. Let's close this down, move that over there, and let's get this up and running. So if I use dot clear, oh, right, I still have that on command error event here. So as you can see here, I'll just explain what happened. So first things first, it triggered the clear error event. Actually, is that right? Yeah, amount of messages to delete. So first things first, it used the error that we had specified for the command itself. All right, so we have our clear command. So the clear error event here was triggered first. But then, since a command had caused an error, the on command error event also triggered. So it said, please pass in all required arguments, as you can see here. But obviously, since we have this, or sorry, since we have our custom error here, we don't really need to worry about this one up here. So I'm just going to say pass, just so that it does nothing. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this out. Actually, yes, I'm going to take this out. Oh, but I can't leave it empty. Pass. We'll just leave it like that for now. But if I run this again, I want to take it out because I'm also going to show you another error. But I can show you something interesting about the on-command error event, which is kind of like a noob trap when you're creating your bot. I messed up with that a whole bunch of times when I was creating, when I was using this error, or when I was using this event for the first time. But if I run it now, dot clear, it only gives me the custom, or not the custom, but the error message specific to the clear command, right? So that's that. Let's close this down. So what I have here is a on-command error event that does nothing, right? Sure, I have this event here, but what if I use an error, or sorry, what if I trigger an error that is not handled by either, a command-specific error handler or the general error handler, aka on-command error? Well, let's see. Actually, I guess I didn't have to close down that run window. But let's see what happens if I use a command that doesn't exist, because that's an error. That's command not found error, I think. .test. So as you can see here, the command obviously didn't work, but there should have been some information here telling me that the command didn't exist, right? Wrong. And essentially the reason it didn't tell me anything is because I've essentially told the bot what to do when a command throws an error. And since it doesn't do anything, it doesn't tell me that there was an error in the first place, because it handles it by doing nothing. So I need to handle that by maybe, or not by maybe, sorry, let me restart. Essentially the noob trap that I'm bringing up here is that if you have an on-command error event, unless you've handled every single error, some errors could just slip right by you and you'd never even know they were triggered, right? Now, if I completely remove this event here and run it, oh, let me close down the old one, and I use .test again, see, it gives me that error. It tells me command not found, command test is not found, right? So I wouldn't have known that if I had just left my code the way it was, because I was essentially telling the bot, when an error happens, do nothing. But in this case, I'm not telling it what to do, and by default, it tells me that an error happened, or an error occurred, right? So by default, it's going to inform me, but if I tell it not to, then it won't, all right? The code will always do exactly what you tell it to do. So let's close this down, and let's actually handle that error. It'll be a nice way to end off this video. So instead of pass, I'm just going to use if is instance, there we go. We are just going to give it error and commands dot command not found. Our colon there, and we're just going to say await ctx.send. We'll say something like invalid command used. I don't know. Let's run that there, and let's use a command that doesn't exist, aka .test, invalid command used. So now you know how to handle when essentially a user uses a command that doesn't exist, as well as check for missing required arguments. But again, well, I guess not again, I haven't said this yet, but there are a bunch of different exceptions that you can handle when they come up. Read through the documentation, just type in exceptions, and it should give you a list of all of them. And essentially this is how you'd handle them. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Comment down below for videos you want to see in the future. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you're hitting that little notification bell button thing. I don't personally do it too much, but apparently you guys won't get notifications or updates when I'm uploading, something like that. Again, I've never pressed the button, but just press it just in case. If you guys like my videos, especially press that button. Share it with your friends, join my Discord, link is down below in the description, as well as links to the documentation, the official help server, whatever. But yeah, you can join my server if you need help, or if you just want to hang out, because we're pretty fun over there. Kind of, maybe, not really. Anyways, that's it. So yeah, hope you guys have a good night. Bye.